Well, hello, hello. I am so excited to be with you again today for another episode of How Does She Do It? For high achieving women, working women who are also moms. And today I'm so excited because my special guest is my sister, Kindsey Pentecost. How are you? Or I should say, Kindsey Pentecost Chadwick. How are you, Kindsey?
Hi, thank you. Good.
Y'all, this is really special to me because my love for women who are very driven, but also moms, is interesting because Kinsey and I were raised in a home with a very traditional stay-at-home mom as a role model. And I think both Kinsey and I would both agree we would never want it any different. And we loved our experience, and I'll let Kinsey speak to that here in a minute. But I just was different. And so for a while, I didn't know if that was bad because I was so different. And that it took me a long time to come around to the fact that it's okay to be different. It's different. And so one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here, Kinsey, is because you have such a spectrum of resume titles that you've experienced. You started in the world of like social work, and you can speak a little bit more to that. I'm not surprised that you have filled the roles and worn the hats at Nkosi and Selah, president of Nkosi National, right? Is it national?
National Center on Sexual Exploitation.
Yep. And then Selah Freedom right here in Florida, but not only in Florida, you were the vice president there. You've obviously worn some major hats in corporate America internationally as a chief marketing director. And so, or chief marketing, you've worn a lot of hats and you're also a mom. So you are exactly what we're talking about on this show is how does she do it? How is she being a mom, a wife, and wearing the hats that she is in her community, in her world. And so I couldn't think of anybody else I wanted to interview on our show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Now, did I get any of those titles wrong? Because you've had so many titles, I can't even keep up with them. You've done a lot of really amazing things, sister. Your resume is wide and deep, that's for sure.
Well, not becoming a mom till my 40s helped that. So there you go.
Well, okay. So when I asked you to be on this and I said, hey, I want you to be on my channel for high achieving women who are moms, what did you think about that? Have you ever thought of yourself as a high achiever?
Yes, that's probably all I really can confidently say I know that I am is a high achiever. It
What does
means
it mean to you? What is being a high achieving and now mom mean to you?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, sometimes probably in my early days, high achieving just meant success. But over the last, I'd say 5 years, high achieving to me in a perfect world is more about balance. Whether it's, balancing your career successfully, making sure you have that space for personal growth, making sure your family's a priority, whatever that looks like for you, whether you're single, married, children, no children, being involved, in a community. And I think for me, that is a few things, whether that's, now it's a mommy group that I'm really proud to be a part of, but a Bible study, church, charity. There's a couple things I look for personally when I think of community. So that to me is high achieving. Plus, I believe you do it all while trying to be an example of how to do it for your community and friends. And so to me, that's being high achieving successfully. Where before, I wasn't doing anything like that. It was just high achieve, and all it meant was my career. And so that definition has definitely changed as I've moved into my 40s.
All right, so you've said a couple times as a mom in my 40s, you said a couple times when I first started out. So again, we'll get back to that in a minute, but let's go to this whole mom in my 40s. What do you mean by that? Because I don't just want to assume that somebody watching this channel has any background on you, Kinsey. So they're learning today, you're my sister. They're like, oh my gosh, she's been a part of NCOSE, which is a national anti-sex trafficking organization, like one of the largest ones in the United States, right?
Yeah.
And can you give me just a little example of some of the things NCOSE has done?
Yeah, NCOSE stands for, we say NCOSE because it's such a lengthy name. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation is what NCOSE stands for. And we work, it's actually, I used to work for Sail of Freedom, which does rescues, and we house and rehabilitate women coming out of trafficking. And I used to train 92% of those who have been trafficked will die. And I used to train that to law enforcement. I'm not a social worker. I never was. So that's one conception about me. I train law enforcement and state attorney on how to find victims of human trafficking and then how to win cases. And then I worked with a safe house. And so I think about 10 years in, I started noticing I was living that statistic out. And I was attending more funerals than I was rescues, or it's
Hmm.
easy to rescue, but a woman will go back in to being trafficked over and over again in their lifespan. And so just because you rescue doesn't mean someone's free. A lot of it is mental jail, I'll call it, where someone stays behind bars that are invisible. And so that's when I teamed up with NCOSE because I wanted to start working and getting there before someone needed to be rescued, which really meant I had to get there between the age of 3 to 5, which is crazy. So we work on policy, advocacy, all over the nation and internationally, actually, to protect our children. I'm very excited. We're launching a parent center coming soon. If you check me out on
Wow.
social, I'll make sure you know when that launches. But just to have keys, parents nowadays have to know so much. It's crazy. And so just to be able to equip parents on how to keep their kids safe in a very tech world. So, yeah, little snidbit about them,
And
us.
I'm just going to give you a little plug because I've had the fortune of having you as a sister. And so I'll never forget when I ran into my first experience with my own child dabbling in pornography. I absolutely had no idea what to do. And I would call myself a bit of a helicopter mom, friends. Like, even though I'm very much a working parent, I am in my kids' phones. We didn't get phones till they were later, although some people would say, why do they have phones at all? And we can get on all that. That's not what today's about. But what I will say is, Kinsey has been a resource. So when she says follow her on social media, definitely do that because she's been a resource for me in books I started reading to my children at a very young age that just started giving awareness into good pictures and bad pictures, just putting it in a vocabulary that didn't breed shame because that is such an enemy of this epidemic, if you will, of pornography, right? And sex trafficking and however you would um, define that. But she was also someone that really taught me in how to not bring shame around it, but just appear to intelligence and educate. But then on top of that, recently, she and I both uncovered through something another child of mine was into another way that these people are getting to our children. And so it's a never-ending battle. It's sick. And this is the world that Kinsey has chosen to serve from a community aspect, professionally as well, but also just really feels like she's giving back to the world and is something I admire about you greatly, Kinsey, because I don't believe for a minute that you can be in that world and not have some of that demonic stuff after you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're making some big enemies in this world because you're fighting this battle that you are. And just as a mom, I want to say thank you for things like Nicosia and even Sail of Freedom, because at the end of the day, we can't keep everybody from going in. But okay, so when the unfortunate things happen, what are we going to do? But like, I love how you said, I've got to figure out how to cut this off even sooner. So let's table that for a minute because I'm sure we could spend the whole time talking about that. And maybe we'll have to get you back because we're probably going to get a lot of people that are like, I want to know more. Kinsey, my church just had an experience where somebody involved in the youth we believe was grooming kids.
Mm.
And it has been a nightmare. And I wouldn't be surprised if my pastor reaches out to you because he's terrified. He's just like, nobody would ever imagine, but it's happening under a lot of our noses. And so
Mhm.
what you know is a gift and the role you're playing. So I just want to say thank you. Tell us what you mean when you kept referring to being a mom in your 40s. You didn't think of being high, you just thought of high achieving, and now the mom role is in there too.
Yeah, I think in your a gift that I have by being a mom in my 40s is growth and age. And so some of that is, I believe in our 20s, we're just trying to survive, to figure out life. We're having fun. And you just feel that. You feel young and you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life and, which career will I go into? You still have those dreams of, I'll say, our youth, and you're just living for the moment a bit and moving in and wake up calls a little bit, I got to start paying bills and am I going to go to college? Am I going to get a trade? It's just a lot of fun times, but kind of figuring out who you want to be. Going into your 30s, you kind of have more of an understanding of that and it's all about achieving. And so I really believe that our society in our 30s is all about success and whatever that looks like to you. It might be like, I want to be a mom. I want to be married. I want to, and you think about as a woman, we have all these goals. I have to be married in early 30s, whatever those goals are. And they've all shifted a little bit, but, and then your career, you have career goals. And so a lot of times that's what we're focused on. Going into your 40s, you start to realize, I'm doing a lot that doesn't serve me. And so I believe your 40s are about mourning. And what I mean by that is you start figuring out what doesn't serve you with your relationships. Maybe it's
Mm,
friendships, it's family. Who doesn't serve you, and then figuring out how to mourn that relationship, career, whatever maybe children, whatever it is that didn't work out that you expected or thought would just always be. It's time to let those things go as you move into your 40s. And really that understanding of what having achievement or being a high achiever means looks very different. For me, sometimes it means being still. I would have never said that in my 20s or 30s. And now, like being
mm.
still, I have like achieved something. Could I meditate today? Could I be quiet? Could I not pick up my phone for 10 minutes while trying to play with my daughter? Those are high achieving moments. Wouldn't have thought of that in my 20s or 30s.
Hmm. Yeah. So, Kinsey, at what age did you become a mom?
41 is when I actually became a mom.
And is that when you decided you were like, hey, I want to get on this mom train? Or was there a reason that you didn't become a mom until you were in your early 40s?
No, I definitely went through fertility. I'd say probably around the age of 35. In a perfect world, I would have become a mom. And that's I've been through a lot with relationships, and I would say anytime God would have made me a mom, great. And, in my mind, that would have probably been early 30s. But with fertility and just fighting, I would say I fought a hard battle for almost 6 years to become a mom. So I would say that does shift my awareness around how I want to be a mom because I fought so hard. It wasn't
Mhm.
like, oops, or I became a mom. And so that does give me a gift that I wouldn't have had if I would have become a mom easily.
Got it. So talk to me a little bit about that because the statistics for women who struggle with fertility is off the charts. And
Mm.
you talk about it. And I know there are more women talking about it, but that wasn't always the case. And what did it feel like when you were struggling to get pregnant? And what came with that as you're balancing a career, as you're balancing, other parts of you that are very real? There's a big part of you that was missing. And so tell me a little bit about that because again, not a lot of people talk about it. Some are starting, and I believe there's a lot of women that are hurting out there, but they don't know where to that I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about connecting with other high achieving women because all I saw was a mom who stayed home. And I thought maybe something was wrong with me because I desired to go out and work. and be a mom?
Mm.
Is it possible to do both? And so now you've got another element there that a lot of women aren't talking about.
Yeah, it's very sad. And I think, well, I know 1 in 6 women are struggling with fertility. And what's really sad is our society does not have any emphasis on fertility. So if you think about it, when we get our first cycle, we go to a OBGYN, you assume a doctor for women would know about fertility. They do not. They do not. My journey actually started when I was very young. I had endometriosis, and at the time, it wasn't a thing doctors talked about or even said you had. So I dealt with it was almost a joke amongst my friends how much pain I had all the time, and I just kind of pushed it down. I didn't kind of push it down. I pushed it down and did not talk about it as far as it was never an excuse not to show up. I've had countless doctors later in life, I would say into my 30s. This all started when I was 15. When I went into my 30s, it started being talked about more, and doctors would say, how many days out of the month can you not work? Is it 6 or more? And I'm like, what? I don't not work. Like, are you crazy? And so I think for women, not only do we just suffer and deal with it in silence, but we don't know where to go. And what makes me very sad about women with fertility is if you go to even a fertility doctor,
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, they will not know what's wrong with you. And they will start shooting darts. Let's try this, which is all going to affect your body, your hormones, your mental health. Many of the drugs I've been put on have suicidal side effects, depression, anxiety, mood, and and these do obviously affect your relationship. And so I tell anyone going through it, like, join a support group, DM me, whatever. But I mentor a lot of women going through it because it's just sad. I live in Florida and I've seen about 4 different, maybe 5 actually, fertility clinics here. And I go to New York just because those people know my name. They know my uterus, which is so sad, but you want a doctor that remembers your uterus. So, a little bit of a tangent, but because so many women, even anybody listening to this, is either going to have gone through it or know someone. And I think the biggest thing as a friend, if you have a friend going through this, is to listen. Just listen. And ask before you ever give advice or say, I know I had a miscarriage or I know da da da. Don't say that. Just listen. Is there anything I can do? How can I support you? Do you need to know someone else going through this? I have a friend that, you want to talk to them. I think that's the biggest thing as women we can do is just listen because I think we don't do enough listening.
Well, and I'm just going to jump in here and just give you guys a couple examples of some of the mistakes I've made. Number one, I had a miscarriage when I was in my 20s. Now, thankfully, I never said to my sister, "Oh, I understand. I had a miscarriage." I never said that because I had a friend who was never able to get pregnant. And when I had my miscarriage, I was shocked what came out of her mouth to me because she was never able to get pregnant. I thought she would have been more empathetic because of that. Instead, she would say things like, "Oh, it's just a miscarriage." And I'd be like, you guys, it was devastating to me. I want you to know a miscarriage is nothing like infertility. And so even when we're trying to be empathetic, listen to what she said. She said, don't compare, don't give advice, listen.
Mm,
Just be with them. And
mm.
it's funny, Kinsey, because I'm reading Job right now. And Job's friends in the beginning were just with him. But then it got to the point they were like, what the flip? You're going through some tough stuff. You must have sinned big time. You must have done some things to deserve this. I mean, nobody deserves hard things. Even if it's self-inflicted, nobody deserves these things. So y'all just sit with them. Second thing, I have made the mistake of bringing up fostering and adopting. That's a huge no-no. Kinsey has been so kind about it, but she's like, if you talk about fostering and adopting, I just want you to know that it's classless. And I was just like, oh, again, sit and listen. And Kinsey, if you want to say anything else about that, you can use me as an example. I don't mind. But I genuinely
Well,
think
because we
so
mess up
often.
our words, not classless, just cringe. But
No
I think
aura.
we joke, it's joke. the best thing you can do is get into a group with other women going through it, and we all can say, guess what someone said to me today. But I would say every woman I know going through infertility knows they can adopt, know they can foster. Um, prays, this sounds weird, prays and longs to go through a miscarriage because that would mean they got pregnant. And that's something, a pain of if you never get pregnant. And so there's just, I think we could love, and listen. And that's it. That's all we need as women is just loving and listening.
Isn't it interesting though how much human nature is we want to have a word to say to comfort? But
Yeah.
I just want to say this, you can't speak to something you've never walked through. You can't. And
Even
so
when you do, like the power in just letting someone live and have their own testimony. Like I just
experience.
met a girl in my Bible study and she raised her hand. She was brand new. She said, I'm 41 and I wonder if I'm ever going to have a baby. I just started fertility treatments. They're not working. And the whole Bible study just stared at me and was like, oh, you have to talk to Kinsey. She's a miracle. You won't believe what happened to her. Now, it's good and it's a testimony, but at the same time, I knew I had to be so careful because I had a baby. And so I wasn't like her anymore. We say once you have a baby, you get kicked out of our club. Now you can go through secondary infertility, whatever, but that's a different club. And so, I've sat with her and listened to her, and I'm very careful, and I know my testimony gives her like hope, because it was a dark, dark testimony of no hope, no this, no that, and boom, we had a baby. And so it's beautiful, but even when you walk through something, you've got to be careful because I feel like sometimes we're so quick, and God is good. God allows us to speak our testimony. And when you are listening and loving, people will ask, what happened with you? And that's a space where they want to know and hear you, but sometimes people aren't ready yet.
Mm,
And I think the softer and gentler and the more patient we are, the more someone's going to feel safe to open up and want to hear from you.
mm. Thank you for sharing that because I even think in my experience of things I've walked through, I didn't even know what I needed. I just needed space to think. I just needed space to grieve. I just needed
Yeah.
space to like feel. And there's a moment of time where you're trying not to feel because it's
Yeah.
feeling so roughly. So, well, okay. So, Kinsey, often I say we moms that are high achievers, like we are 100% there for our kids. We are 100% there for our career. We usually sacrifice ourselves on the altar of the two things that we want so badly. And so, what has that been like for you? Because even before you had Olivia, you were sacrificing yourself on the altar of your career, because you wanted that, you were so committed to the goal. You are a hard worker. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. And so, therefore, at all costs, we're going to continue to move forward. But you were suffering in the process. Anything you want to say about that? Even maybe how hard it might have been to ask for help?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is something I live by right now, because I don't trust myself. So, as a high achiever, right when you think you have it figured out or you go through a good season, I think the longest stretch I've had is a year. And then, boom, I'm back to being a workaholic. And I'm like, where did my balance go? What happened? And so I don't trust myself. And so, what the number one thing I like to do is take inventory. And so this is a check-in I do with myself constantly, and it's really simple. So it's figuring out what's draining you versus what's fueling you. And what's interesting is you can't cheat. I like to cheat and think ahead, like, oh, okay, I know, I already know what's draining me and what's fueling me. Sometimes it's not.
I'm
Sometimes,
taking notes. I want you to
oh,
know I'm taking notes.
so honestly, this is what's really funny. Um, God will shift you. So I remember this season where I did this exercise and I knew that I knew that I knew it was I just taken the role as the president of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation based out of DC. And I want you to know I accepted this job at 7 months pregnant. stupid, psycho, but I'm like, yeah, I can do it. It's good. And so as I took an inventory, I realized I knew that was fueling me, but it wasn't, it was draining me because it wasn't the right season
Mm,
and I wasn't sitting in the right seat. And I still work with them, but I had to pay attention to where I was supposed to be sitting, and I wasn't oh my gosh, sitting, there we go, in the right seat. And so this changes all the time. That's why minimally I do this 4 times a year, taking inventory, checking in with myself.
mm,
And so I ask myself with my career, is it energizing or is it exhausting? And you might be like, I don't know. Okay, pay attention when you go to get on a work call. How do you feel? You start to get anxious? Pay attention. You can do this with friends as well. You can do this with family members. You can do this where any part of you can take a list and say, this is where I spend all my time and how do I feel? And
mm,
sometimes, maybe you're like, well, I feel anxious when I'm with my kids. Well, you can't quit your kids, but you might say, why? Is it because I'm trying to work while I'm with my kids and now I feel guilty because I'm not present? And so it doesn't necessarily mean maybe you're supposed to take it out of your life, but maybe it means how you're doing it is causing you more energy than you need. So with family, I like to ask myself, am I being present or am I distracted? With my friends, I like to ask myself, are they pushing me forward or are they pulling me back? And I think for that, there's times where I've had friends that are amazing, amazing, but I had one friend that I was talking to like 4 times a day. And I had to ask myself, like, do I have time for anything else? Do I have time for my husband? Do I have time for my daughter? Like, I don't think I have time for anything else if I talk to someone 4 times a day. So you've got to look at where are you spending your time and your energy, and is it going to push you forward with whatever goals you have? Well, I want to be a mom that's less distracted. Well, how's talking to a friend 4 times a day going to help with that? So you got to ask yourself some hard questions. And then environment. What is your environment? Is it helping you grow? And so you might start to pay attention to, and you might laugh when I say this. So like I like to say for my environment, like where am I? Where do I live? Where do I want to go? What are my dreams? Is it a vacation? Is it a retreat? Is it just feeling peaceful? What is it? What does it look like? But I have to pay attention to like giving my mind space to even come up with these things. Sometimes it's a big sign right now if you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That means you have zero space to even be bored or creative. And then I would ask you for, let's go back up, let's do the inventory. And then ask yourself too, how much time are you spending on your phone? How much time are you doom scrolling? How much time are you on social media? I was wasting so much time playing games on my phone, which sounds so stupid, like Tetris games. I had to delete all the games off my phone. I was like a crackhead. Like for 6 months, I kept trying to go to my phone to play games and they were gone. I just want you all to know I've been clean for a year. It's a really big deal. Um, or what are you watching? What shows
mm,
are you watching? And again, it's just filling space, blank space. But these are now things that we have to ask ourselves in the day and age that we live in.
totally. Okay, so let me get to another question because myself as a high achiever, I am always, I just like, I feel good that I am very independent, self-sufficient in a lot of ways. Also, there's been those times where I did lean on someone else and they let me down. So then it's just like, yeah, back to doing the things that I know I can do and the way I like to do them. So what I have discovered, and I'm curious your experience as a single mom, as someone who's heavily career driven and ambitious, I need a village. Maybe some have a good family support system and a friend support system, or just a village in general. But I never was good at asking. I'm getting better at it all the time. I'm getting better at saying things like, I need help, or I can't do X, Y, and Z because I'm just exhausted. So do you have a good village? What does that look like for you? Is it hard for you to lean on your village?
I definitely think with this question, one of my favorite things to say is again, talking about inventory, your village changes. What you need changes. Unfortunately, I'm still in need of an IVF village. So I have
Mm,
a group of women. We're going through infertility again and believing and hoping for a child, but we've had two losses in the last 14 months. And we continue to, it affects my emotions, everything. I have to be very aware of what kind of village do I need to be the best self I can be in my career, to my friends and family, to my husband, and then what I expect as a human. So, what do I believe I'm on this earth for is God and my purpose, and am I fulfilling that? And that is for me through my community. So, you've got to look at like I had to take inventory of my community and say, what do you need in your life for your village? One of them that I was neglecting, I had been going to a Bible study and I quit going, and God was like, you need to go back, and that is a huge part of your village right now and community that you have to have in your life. And I
mm,
was like, oh my gosh, okay. And so not only do I need a village, but it's very easy to make excuses, especially if you're a good person, you're high achieving. People can look at you and almost, I actually had a conversation with my husband because be careful, they can come from the inside with the best of intentions. But every time I went to go to my Bible study, my husband would say, you don't need to go. Now, the reason why is because I was a new mom. It's far away. It's at night. All excuses, right? All excuses. As soon as I sat him down and said, this is something my soul needs, it resets my mindset every week. He was like,
mm.
okay. And he shifted now on that night when you feel the pull of not going. He says, you got this, babe. Go. You got to get there. This resets your mind. So I think knowing what village you're supposed to be a part of, again, check in on yourself because it usually changes. I wouldn't say more than every year. That'd be rare. But check in on your village as you do your New Year's resolution. Now's a great time to say, do I even have a village? Am
Hmm.
I, am I connected in the right communities? Am I being faithful? And then who do I need to make sure holds me accountable to be in my community, be in my, activate that village?
It's interesting because a lot of times when I talk to other high achieving women, I hear they know they need a village. It's just accepting the help. They
Mm,
struggle to accept the help. What I just heard you say was it's not a matter of if I need a village, it's who's in my village and in what season, where are the priorities. And so I think that's really powerful because I think one of the things I always want to get across is it's not a matter of if you need a village, it's who and how often and how many villages and what for what part of your life. And sometimes our greatest hindrance as a high achiever is we want to, I got this, I can do this.
mm,
I don't want to, at least for me, I don't want to come across weak, which I'll never forget when the Lord showed me it doesn't make you weak. It allows other people to use their gifts to help you, just like you love to use your gifts to help people. And I was
mm,
like, oh, you mean I'm not allowing someone to be who they're created to be? Oh, my bad, my bad. And that just like redirected and flipped the script on everything for me instead of feeling weak, because I did need help.
mm.
Um, so I think that's really powerful. Kinsey, you said something, and I was curious because for me, one of the reasons I became passionate about this space and helping women in this space was because I looked around one season and it was all men I was looking up to. There was no women in my circle, if you will, of the places I was trying to get to career wise, even personally wise. Um, and I was like, that's wrong because I'm a woman and we're just different and we have different needs. Who is a woman, either right now or in the past, that you've looked up to and followed because you realize I need strong women mentors?
Again, I think it's different seasons. One strong mentor that stands out to me in my life was Elizabeth, an ex-boss of mine. And something she taught me to do well before Mel Robbins wrote the Let Them theory was let them. And so I think one, as a woman, we always need a woman mentor. And so something my dad taught us young, but never emphasizing, I don't think, women. And so a lot of times people will see someone that looks like themselves, to believe, put that belief in you that it's possible. So if you're in a season of, I want to get here with my career, or I want to be a mom that can juggle it all, or I need to know how to let go of being a people pleaser, codependent, whatever it is your goal is that you're seeking or you want or need, that's who you're looking for in a mentor. That's what you need. So I think making sure, again, inventory is a big word for me, making sure you're shifting when you need to and looking for someone that can help you believe that you can get somewhere that you want to go. So when you see someone else doing something you have never done or experienced, you'll know it's possible by finding a mentor who can show you how to get there and pull you up.
What did that mean for you as a high achieving woman who's career driven and your mom to have a mom who's like strictly stay at home? How did that benefit you? How did that potentially s- stump you up? I don't even know if that's a word, but like almost like make you go, is it possible? Because we weren't seeing it from someone we had looked up to in the most, I would say, important ways. A woman right out of the get-go has a woman in her life.
Um, what's interesting is I think because again, it'd probably be such different perspectives for you and I knowing you became a mom in your 20s. So you have to imagine now you're becoming a mom in your 20s trying to figure out how to have a career and raise children, where I'm now in my 40s with a almost 2-year-old. So the difference in where I'm at in my career and the things and tools and what I want to cultivate in my life and who I am as a mom is completely different than how I would have answered that in my 20s. So I would say that doesn't impact me as much. I would
Interesting.
attribute that to my age.
Well, and our mom was a young mom, right? And so I wasn't as young as her, but I was young. And as much as I wanted to be home with my babies, a big part of my story is even when I felt like this was taking me away from my babies, I was like, I'm doing it for them. I am doing it for the flexibility. You're very intuitive in our experiences are just very different. So you're going to speak to a whole different audience, Kinsey, than I can speak to as a high achieving mom because you've just walked a different path than me. And yet the one thing I know is our parents raised very driven, very strong, very you can do anything you set your mind to women, and I think that's a real gift that we've been given, but I think we've also experienced some different challenges on our journey. And so what's the thing you're most proud of today, Kinsey? Whether that's as a mom, as that's where you're at in your career, what is something you're the most proud of?
Um, well, I think something that I'm, I guess proud's a hard word for me, but I love my age and the fact that I seek to be present in all things. And I think that I'm proud that my daughter gets that gift now because
Mm,
um, there's a quote I love. It's kind of funny. I only remember this because it's my name, McKinsey. 70% of people say that they're living on autopilot. And
mm.
I think for me, I've spent a lot of life living on autopilot unintentionally. And you just go through the motions and you work and da da da. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, what have I done in my life? And I think moms feel that a lot. And so I think my goal in life and what keeps me proud and will inspire me, because I want to be proud of this moment, is to be a present mom, a present friend, a present wife. My love language has never been quality time, and it's now quality time. Like when I'm with you, I want you to look at me. I want you off your phone. And that's really what, yeah. And so trying to stay that human is something that makes me proud.
So now opposite. Now, mind you, you guys, we are sisters. I was just with her yesterday. None of this is rehearsed. She said to me, "What are you going to ask?" And I was like, "Well, here's some high level things we might touch on, but I want this to be real. And I want wherever this conversation goes to just kind of be natural." And so, Kinsey, to hear what you're most proud of, what is something you're still working on? Like you feel like, gosh, I would have thought I had this by now. What is something that you're just like, I do have this awareness. I am more present, but my gosh, being a driven woman, this still gets me every time, something like that.
It's really easy to answer this coming out of Christmas. So I mean my I was gonna say guilty, not pleasure, but what I will probably until the day I die be working on is not being reactive. And so I really struggle with trying to be the best hostess, the best friend, family member, whatever, just making it that I really struggle with achieving and having a daughter being present. It can make me very reactive if I'm not careful and don't fill up all the things until I get to my breaking point. And so that's something I am very aware of and just want to be in a space where I'm not a reactive mom, a reactive wife, a reactive friend. And so that's something I think it always looks different in my life. This is something I can be like, I nailed it. I've got this figured out in my career. And then a next phase comes of it. So I just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, I just a very transparent moment. There was a Kinsey and I are so much alike and so different. It's interesting how we can be so much alike and so different at the same time. And you might say, what does that even mean? Listen, if you spent much time with us, you you would start to see right away. There are certain things we couldn't be more alike in, and then there's certain things that are like, wow, that is so different. But I say this to say she's a safe person for me. And so we had a moment we just went away on like an 8-day trip and we had a moment and I needed her and I told her I needed her. And for me, that's vulnerable. And yet she was having a moment. And so she couldn't be there for me. And so we had a reactive moment together. And it was the most beautiful thing to be able to really quickly recognize that. And I don't know if you felt it, Kinsey, but it just felt so healthy for me that we recognized it and we were able to reconcile it right away. Because as much as we're both awesome people, we're also both very human. And
Mm,
so, blessing for me, probably one of my favorite parts of the trip, which I think, how is that your favorite part of the trip? But it was beautiful because those might have been things in the past where I'd be like, Kinsey, you're so frustrating. Where in reality, I had so much ownership in my reactivity in that. And just being able to let her, she's going through something, I'm going through something. We can both be going through something. That's just part of the human experience. And it didn't take away from our vacation. So, but I say this, Kinsey, because I think it's even more so than us being sisters. I think it's that we're both very high achieving, driven women who seek to do well. And that
mm,
doesn't always fit a mold. It doesn't always go the way that we hope it does.
mm,
Um, but I wouldn't trade who we are ever,
mm,
ever for anything. And so I say that for you women out there who maybe there's some women you just butt heads with, but you also are so obsessed with them or drawn to them. It's probably because their makeup is very similar to yours. But I do think iron sharpens iron. That's where I see I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but that was a very special moment for me. And I've been very excited to interview you on this channel because, again, you and I are a lot alike. There's so much about you as a high achieving woman that I admire. And yet we're also very different. But I think there's a lot we can learn from each other.
mm. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I know you said you had a limited amount of time. I want to check in on you for time wise, see how you're doing, because I do have a couple more questions, but I want to be
Yeah.
aware of your time.
Now that I have someone that watches my child, but yes, I'm good on time.
Okay, okay. So, what are you reading right now? Who are you following? Who are you like? What is something you're really working on right now?
Well, this is gonna sound maybe funny, but I'm obsessed right now with, and I've always been obsessed, but it's definitely not going away for the last 5 years. Renovation and hosting, thinking about spaces in a different way. So I met my husband in Ireland, and we bought a 1800s cottage. Oh my goodness, that we have been renovating for 2.5 years. But and now we're going to do it again in Florida. But I'm reading a book right now called Unreasonable Hospitality. And
Hmm.
I'm obsessed with it because I'm like, oh, because my husband and I love to host. And my brother said to me recently, which I took as a big compliment, our brother, um, you and Connor, that's my husband, should write a book together about hosting. And I was like, oh, that's such a great idea, but I should probably elevate my hosting. So I'm loving this book right now because it's just teaching me about elevating like someone's experience, but I'm kind of taking it to a different level when I'm reading it. It's talking about an experience when someone's with you, so when you're hosting, but also I
Mm,
thinking in friendships, personal connections, our attention to detail. And so
mm.
I think gone are the days where I want to like have a Christmas party to just check it off a box. Like if we're not connecting or someone's leaving my house feeling this like, oh, then I think I'm looking at how we spend time together differently. But anyways, I'm obsessed. Highly recommend the book. And if you're into this kind of thing, but just thinking about new homes, new spaces, and hosting and connection, that's what I'm doing right now and obsessed with.
It's interesting you're saying that because for those of you that are watching this, you may not know, I am now a realtor. And I think one of the reasons I felt like this was a space for me is because I have lived in, bought, built, sold, seen ugly, but seen the beauty in something more times than I can count. And it just made sense because I can, and then money and budgets and things like that is like my thing. Kinsey, your love for it is different than mine because you also have a hate for some things that I have about building and the experience and but you love it to get back into it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do that or I don't need to do that anytime soon. um, so I admire how you and Connor could, because even when recently I was sharing that you guys had just bought something, people were like, I would never buy something that's historic and has all these rules about it. And I was like, they did it in Ireland and they're doing it here. They just have a gift for it. I don't think they love it. I just think they have a gift for it and they see the potential in it. But again, that is your high achieving muscle going. I see something, I want to make it great, and I'm going to. And nothing's going to stop me from making it great, no matter what it takes. And so you guys really have an eye for that. And it's kind of fun to know you actually, it's more than having an eye for it, it's the hosting side of it too, and the space that the things you want to create in that space. So that's kind of cool to hear that from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like thinking fertility, housing. It's all very painful at the time, but the outcome is so beautiful. It makes you want to do it again.
Yes, me that said I don't ever want to build again and I'm sitting in a renovation project. That's why I'm hosting this call from a bedroom instead of an office because the office is completely torn up and a mess. But all right, anything you want to say to like what's something you wish more people understood about women who are ambitious in raising a family? What is something you wish people knew?
I think one is that we all feel that same feeling of I'm not good enough, the guilt. I think those are just such common things. And so, as women, if we can kind of take that off the table, that kind of becomes like, okay, how do we not live in guilt? And how do we not live in not feeling good enough? Because we all feel that way. And I think the next generations coming are seeing that, where old school, you didn't talk about it, you pretended everything was perfect, where we're more, meh. No, we're not. And I fought so hard for this kid, and I'm having the worst day. And so I think that alone could reset our community, our villages, to help us start on a different level where we're all looking at what are the things that keep you present? What are the things that keep you not feeling guilty? Instead of feeling taboo about feeling that way, now it's become a talking point of how we encourage each other to not stay in that feeling.
That's 100%. And I think what I was actually trying to get at, which is what you just did, some people could try to talk you and Connor out of and did. No, you don't want to buy a house in a historic district. Oh no, you don't want to build a house. You don't want to renovate a house. But the reality for us as high achieving women is you can tell us all day long, you shouldn't do that while you're trying to do. We're just wired differently and we're going to do it. And so we need to have the tools in our toolbox that help us do it. So you are going to feel the guilt. You are going to feel tired. You are going to have tension in juggling the hats that you're wearing. You just need to embrace it, talk about it, and find the tools that you need
Mm,
to do it the best that you can. You know,
mm,
nobody's going to
yeah.
stop you and Connor from renovating a house in Dublin. Nobody's going to stop you and Connor from buying and renovating a place in Sarasota, even if it's in a historic district. So how do we come around you and, rally with you, give you good contact? That's what I feel like I just heard you say for what do you wish everybody knew about high achieving moms?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to share? Something just burning on your chest? Feel free to totally get it out there.
I think something I take for granted, um, that is something that I coach women on. So I decided because I didn't know how to do this, what to get holy yoga certified. But what I ended up getting certified in that I didn't realize was meditation. And I remember when they told us we had to meditate 60 hours, or sorry, 60 minutes a week to get your yoga certification. And I was like, how will I ever do that? I was like breaking it down minutes of a day. I'd have to be committed to 6 days a week, 10 minutes a day. What will I sit there and think about? Now I laugh when I think about that because I'm like, I could do that every day. But it took so much. I mean, it was like hard for 30 seconds, a minute, let alone anything longer than that. And now when I do it with other people, they're like, how long are we going to be meditating for? But know what, as women, something that's super important is to understand our nervous system. And so when
Mm,
we don't advocate for ourselves, when we constantly do, whether it's for our children, for the household, we don't talk enough about for the household, how many things have to be done, work, all of those things become a balancing act. And a lot of times women just keep going until they break. They don't reach out until they break. So we're
mm,
da, 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 and then it's like, and so something that I've become very passionate about is understanding that's our nervous system and when do we need to reset it. And there's such simple
mm.
things that we do to reset our own nervous systems. And I just like to tell people about three of them because you have access to them all the time. One is to breathe, just to breathe.
Mhm.
To breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and release for 5 seconds. And try to do that a couple times a day. This sounds crazy, but we don't remember to breathe. The other one is just laying down on the ground with our hands open and our legs spread wide, and we just lay on the ground for a few minutes. That resets your nervous system. It's grounding. The third one would be grounding and actually getting to either a grounding mat or grass. Just going and putting your bare feet in grass. And those are three things that will reset your nervous system. You feel like you want to kill someone because no one's seeing you or you're making dinner and you've done everything and blah, whatever. Those three things, one of those three things every day, I just encourage you to do because we have such power in our own bodies to breathe, lay
Mm.
down, or ground yourself by putting your feet to the earth. And those are things that God's given us. And as women, I think we need to be reminded of that. When friends call me, I'm like, let's breathe together. And they're like, I forgot to breathe. Yes, help me breathe. So just a reminder, you have access to reset your own nervous system.
It's funny because I have a group I'm coaching, a community of women that gather together weekly, monthly. And the big thing that I just started implementing is we're starting our sessions with breath work to like, so whatever we're coming in with, we're not actually bringing that in. And
That's
we're
amazing.
coming in and being present. And so we're doing breath work at the beginning. So it's so funny you brought that up because I was like,
It
it's
sounds so
serious.
juvenile, but it's so powerful that you're doing that. And now you're teaching those women like the power of hold on, let's take a moment, let's breathe. And then sometimes it's also contagious, which is funny if you think about women, because we all have contagious cycles, but we sync up. It's also contagious, these kinds of things. So breathing
Mm.
with someone or breathing and they're like not breathing, they'll start breathing with you. So there's power in doing it in a community or with a friend as well, because you're helping someone else by showing them what your body should be doing.
It's funny, Kinsey, because I feel like my little guy that I had the privilege of fostering, adopting, now releasing back to biomom. I had to learn breath work with him for his triggers that I actually didn't know I needed. I was
Mhm.
like, funny how God is teaching me what I need through your experience right now because I want to choke you.
Yeah.
I need to put that breath work in practice myself that we just heard from your therapist today. So, no, thank you. That was really good and really practical. Well, gosh, thank you, Kinsey. And I can't promise you we're not going to ask you to come back for round two, but that was super beneficial. And I just feel lucky that I got to interview my sister. Um, and we'll be praying for you, me. I'll be praying for you on your IVF journey. I think you're one of the most bravest women I know in this stage of your life, and what I've watched you walk through is nothing short of a miracle. And so I think, again, as high achieving women, I think we're doing miraculous things on a regular basis. And it's probably why you have the strength to do what you're doing. But I can't wait to, meet that next niece or nephew and just know how hard you worked for it. So keep it going. Use all those muscles that you worked in career life to keep going after that next thing. You got this.
Thank you. Thank you, Cami. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Bye.